Going. Plugging along. Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We're not really
Take
sure
our own
why you're
minutes.
pushing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna.
First one.
So I think my point is it may go away. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Disagree.
Bless you.
Bless it.
Zero. No.
Yeah, but I know, at least, it was warm this today. It's like 49 degrees. It wasn't bad out there today. Oh, good, good. Yeah, couldn't wait to leave. I know that. Was it? Oh, shit house. Maria King. Yeah, I got stuff. They got another Zoom at 9 o'clock. Never ends. Beautiful.
So go ahead and promote her. Yep, thank you. Now go back over. There you go. Maria, can you hear us?
I can hear you great.
Good, we can hear you as well. All right.
Action.
So we're ready to get started.
Okay. We call to order this meeting of the Municipal Authority of December 16, 2024. We are just back from an executive session to discuss litigation matters. Could you do a roll call for me, Steve, since I can't see everybody who's there?
Sure. Roll call. Maria Kane,
Here.
Thomas Greco,
Yeah.
Walter Verginnis,
Here.
Tim Kelly,
Here.
Steve Mackel here. Great job.
Great job. Okay, at this time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda. That was in your packet. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Second from Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any members of the public there tonight?
No.
Okay, moving on. Everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from the November 18, 2024 meeting. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next is the treasurer's report. And do we have a treasurer's report tonight, Steve? Nice.
Okay, we have two items that were included in the agenda. The first one was a update on the 2025 budget. Walt, Steve and myself met. Oh, sorry.
You go.
Thank you. We met to go over the 2025 budget, discuss operating and some capital projects that we should probably try to focus on more so. So I included a little memo with also the letter that was attached from Central Delaware County Authorities treatment charges for 2025. Just an overview of increases we expect for 2025 from a billing perspective. The debt service fee per EDU is going up to $172.20. Similarly, the infrastructure fee doing the same, going to $80 per EDU from 60. Obviously combined, it's going to be a per EDU charge of $252.20. We're still waiting for the RHM treatment fee notification. I don't know if we didn't get that yet, and discussions at our meeting on the 6th of December. We went through a few items that were primary and necessary, related to specifically some camera projects to look for identify holes, pockets, imperfections, so we can address it accordingly. We also did discuss possibly doing an audit for customers to see service that they're being charged the correct service fees, and then we had the correct addresses. That was pretty much it. Just wanted to give you where we were, and we're looking forward to completing this early in 2025 so we can move forward with that. Any questions?
So Tom, when we discussed this at our meeting, I know we talked about an EDU increase, but 50% increase is pretty large. I'm just wondering how that's going to be received by the community.
Yeah, so I mean, if you'll recall, it's obviously a bigger increase in the beginning years. I mean, it's the same increase every year over a 5-year period. And so the first couple years, it's going up percentage-wise larger. But we're trying to, what we wanted to do for the purpose of this was that we needed to get to, and I can't remember the exact number, but like $278 per EDU per year. And so we wanted to take the steps of increasing that number a little bit each time to get us to where we needed to be versus to jump it all at one time. And so we took it over a 5-year period. And so the first couple of years, yes, the percentage is greater. You know, it's the first year it was double. This year it's 50%. And then each year it goes out, it gets a little less percentage wise, but the amount of the increase is the same over the 5-year period. It's the same piece each time to get us to where we needed to be. And we just did that so that nobody experienced it all at one time, which would have been a very hard thing to swallow. And we tried to explain that in the billing, that that's what was going to happen in the first year when we did it. And we've explained it in each billing year thereafter.
So it doubled last year.
Yes,
And now it's down, it's at 50%.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So, you know, I forget what the exact number is, and it may be in the memo, but it's what we planned.
Okay, that's where I really wanted to get
Right.
to was how do we come up with that number? Because when you see it, it jumps out at you, but now it makes sense because I remember discussing that this time last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like last year, it was a really big hit for everybody because they were used to paying, you know, what it was, $20 a year on the infrastructure fee, and we took it to 40, right? And then we're taking it to 60 this year, and then we're taking it to 80, you know, that kind of thing on the infrastructure fee. And then the debt service fee, I forget the exact amount, but I think it was like $14.75 a quarter. But it's now, you know, it doubles last year, and then it goes up 50% more. And the whole idea was to step us up over that 5-year period so that the homeowner wasn't being hit all at one time, even though we know we needed a bigger number ultimately.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then it flattens out. So later, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Welcome. Any questions?
I guess I have a question, probably the right time to ask. Steve, did we post that letter that you had done regarding these increases onto our website so that when there's calls or questions about it, we can point them to that letter that's already been written and publicized?
I think it was posted. I'd have to go back and verify, but it was, I know it was done I know it was put on it when we initially did it. I don't know that it's still up there. We would do it again this year.
Yeah, I
you
think we need to update that, you know, just, you know, it's probably accurate back then or whatever, but maybe if it needs to be updated, just so that we can point people to the right place so that they're getting, you know, the information regarding fees and projections moving forward.
Correct.
That's great. We'll do that.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, in our meeting, Walter had requested, going forward, we get a copy of the accounts receivable aging reports. And I've attached, as opposed to the typical month end, I attached an aging report as of last Friday. The significance there is to show we've had a large receivable from Rockwell LLC for 227 Charles Ellis Drive. We've segregated the past due balance on line 1. And we have the current balances, 3 down from there. I don't know the history, but I did find out a whole lot about it. That the fact that they had an extraordinary amount of gallons of water that just found its way out of their system.
Yeah,
their
and,
throat
and
system.
I think the board's kind of aware that this was, and I'll just do a 2-second overview for you again. We had a situation where at time of construction, the joint between the meter and the pipe going into the building was not seated properly, and significant amounts of water were bypassing that joint. And when I say significant amount, I think it was somewhere around 70 to 71 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water. So it was a lot of water that bypassed that joint. And so the meter reading that we got was never accurate. And so that was always the case. And so that's the reason why that had been set and was segregated out. You'll see on your agenda tonight, further down, you're being asked to write that amount off. And that would change the number in our report significantly as to what our long-term outstanding is. If we subtracted almost 200,000 from that number, I think it takes it down to around $50,000 or $60,000 or
Does.
something like that.
$57,000.
Yeah, so it makes it, Portnoy said they couldn't collect it because there was a definite question of what that number was. You got to have a relatively accurate number you're charging people. That was not it. And so we need to get that taken care of. And so that's where we are with that piece of it. But I think the rest of the report's pretty accurate, and Portnoy is working on the top ones. In January, we'll come to you with a list of ones that Portnoy doesn't currently have, that we think Portnoy should get as collections. And we've done that the last several years. And then we turn that back over to Portnoy and they take going forward. So we'll do that and get you that at your January meeting.
And that references line number 3. There's about 42 new customers, or probably, unless I see a large spike in collections from those in the next couple of weeks, they'd be sent over to Jason at Portnoy. And I have a weekly call now with him, and it's tomorrow morning, just to he shares balance reports and collection reports with me now. So it's we're actively going through it, and hopefully we move forward. Item 2 on the agenda there, the report is basically how everything else of the million two collected, invoiced in the third quarter, and the $1.3 million in the second quarter are significantly collected. It's easy for me to say. So it's favorable from that respect. So the majority of customers are paying, and ironically, I've always, when I got here, not so long ago, I wondered about the fee, the infrastructure fees and the debt service fees on the invoice. They're properly schooled. We get a handful of them, and I thought we'd get more than that. They're just coming in thinking, okay, what's this bill and everything else. So it's a positive. It's a positive that they're aware, but I'll take Maria's advice and update that letter that's on there. At least refresh it to make sure it's there.
Yeah. That's really great. I am so glad to hear that you're having these, open lines of communication between you and Portnoy too. I think that's really going to help streamline things. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems to be, because I can't lose sight of those. That's it.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay.
I'm good on that. Anything else in your report?
No, I don't think there's anything else on the
No, there's
treasury
nothing. I'm
report.
sorry.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. You're welcome.
All right, and then moving on to Dave Porter for the engineer's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So over the last month, engineering wise, our office addressed some additional comments from Delaware County Conservation District on the NOT notice of termination application for the NPDS permit. Our wetland biologist was able to finally acquire a quote from an independent landscaping company to support what the level of effort would be for plantings in the event that the township's public works staff may be able to help or assist the authority in doing supplemental wetland plantings in concert with the requirement for the ongoing wetland restoration requirements of the permit. So the quote from this landscaping company was $9,500. That includes planting the materials, transporting the materials to the site, includes vegetation protection fencing, and that's it. Plant materials are sourced separately and are not included in that quotation. The estimated quantity of plant materials is 250 plants, and the company was JB Outdoor Services out of East Norriton. So it's taken us quite some time to get one quote. So obviously we'll need to discuss with Steve and staff availability as to how we want to proceed. But that's sort of the level of effort that we're looking at. So if public works staff is allocated, we're looking at probably somewhere around that fee to be reimbursed to the township for that service. We discussed Brandywine Tree and Shrub, which has an outstanding invoice to the town or to the authority in the amount of $21,250. That was for tree removal in connection with the driveway construction for the Camelot Old Masters Pump Station, Camelot service area project. So I've reached out to them discussing a possible credit off of that bill. They seem inclined to work with the authority in that regard. The only question that they came back was if we agree to the reduced bill, when would we get paid? So my response to them will be that it would be likely at after the January meeting, the authority would be in the position to approve that, subject to a release agreement that Mike would review and approve, and they would be required to enter into. The LSA grant, Local Share Authority, which is statewide gaming funds, that application was submitted on the 29th of November. That was in the amount of $676,000. Basically, looking at the prior Westchester Pike sewer bid that we received 2 years ago, which was over $300,000, plus the additional estimated cost for the other components of the project, plus contingencies and legal fees and engineering permitting and so on and so forth. So that was the resolution that the authority adopted or passed to basically indicate that they're applying for those funds. So that's complete. I believe the anticipated date for award is sometime in the second quarter of the following year after the application. I will say that the 2023 round was awarded in the third quarter of 2024. So it took a little bit longer than anticipated, but you know, we're hopeful to be successful since we've made prior applications, and you know, there's obviously the need still there because we're expanding the scope of the project. So the Westchester Pike project itself, we got a renewal permit from PennDOT, which needs a payment of $130 for the permit fee. We're working on acquiring the other permit for the crossing at Dunwoody. And I'm still working on connecting with PennBid to facilitate the project through their new system. I've talked with some folks in our office, one of which has used the new PennBid system. So I'll be getting together with them this week to make sure everything gets uploaded correctly and that thing gets moved forward. So we're looking at receiving bids probably in January of 25 or February of 25, depending on the comments we get from contractors and the response to that bid process, actually. So on the fog program, the notice of violation that was issued for LNG was November 6th. There's been no response from LNG in that regard. I have spoken with Newtown Codes Department. My understanding is we're going to be moving to another enforcement action. So I have to obviously follow up with Andy in that regard to coordinate filing of citations. The issue at 3541 Westchester Pike and 3543 Westchester Pike went to a notice of violation action in coordination with Newtown Codes on November 21st. So that is between the Fellini Cafe and the Blush Salon. And actually, since that time that the NOV was filed, there's been no follow-up from that particular property owner with regard to filing an application to disconnect their lateral from 3541 connected to the sanitary sewer main. So I know Andy was working on following up with them on that. In the meantime, there have been some additional issues with blockages out there. And another independent maintenance contractor went out and actually sent an email indicating that they televised the line. They found a buildup of fats, oils, and grease in the Fellini line. So that obviously is something that we'll have to get together with Andy and coordinate a maintenance routine and inspection of grease traps and have them set up an O&M agreement and, you know, basically evaluate the system similar to how we're having LNG evaluate their system. You know, speak to the fact that what the size of the grease trap, how many, you know, pertinence they have connected to that grease trap and whether it's adequately sized for their operation, and then have recommendations for their O&M in connection with that. Further on in the agenda, we have for the Stoney Knoll subdivision, a release number 4 for $7,200 with regard to their financial security for sanitary sewer. And I do owe Andy some coordination with regard to some capacity consistency out at Ellis Preserve. And he had a couple of questions on release of building permits out there. The Ellis Pump Station crane, we've reached out to JMC contractors who the authority agreed to have move forward with that crane repair to see what their schedule is moving forward. Obviously, the winter time concrete work is not ideal, so we're probably looking, you know, early in 2025 to have them move forward, unless they want to provide heaters and blankets and everything for the concrete work. Probably better just to wait until, you know, March or April to get that project completed. That concludes my engineer's report for tonight.
Dave, real quick, on the 3541 and 43 Westchester Pike, that when you explained it last time, you said it was, you know, old existing plans. Is that a tenant issue or a landlord issue or in the building of those spaces?
I think it's kind of both. So I've been in
the lease.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. So I've been in touch with the owner of Fellini, who has a tenant that is aware of the issue. The tenant is reporting blockages in the lateral, but they're finding when they have a contractor come in and clean out, they're finding things like hair and other products that are consistent with a beauty salon use. So they've reached out to the adjacent tenant and kind of put them on notice. And then that landlord reached out to us once we kind of put the word out through Andy's help in the codes department to say, hey, look, we think you guys have a problem here. The adjacent owner's maintenance contractor televised the line and found that your line is directly connected to their lateral. So after we reached out, or Andy sent the notice of violation letter and said, hey, look, we need to get this resolved. You need to submit an application within 10 days of receipt of the letter. And we haven't received anything. So we're going to be taking the next steps to move that situation along, especially since now we're getting reports of fats, oils, and grease in that lateral. And this is starting to become like a peel back the layers of the onion type deal, because these units have changed tenants so often, or so many times since the 1960s, when the system was built in front of that complex, that it's hard to determine, unless we want to go back through all the building files to see where permits were issued and for what lateral. And what I'm concerned with is somebody got an approval, quote unquote, from the township or the authority to connect the lateral to another lateral and doesn't have an agreement in place or something to that effect. As far as I'm concerned with regard to the ordinance, is you're required to have a separate connection. Unless they can produce an agreement that says otherwise, that they're sharing a lateral, because anytime somebody wants to do that, we make sure an agreement is in place to allow for it. So we don't have issues like this arise in the future, and we don't penalize a future manager or solicitor or engineer to try to figure it out. So that's
Do
sort
we
of-
have access to the information, Steve, related to whether or not there is any information as to whether or not the township or the authority in some capacity had approved the
I
sharing of the
went-
lateral?
I went back and went through the records. I found the card that authorized connection, but that's all it did. It just authorized connection and listed what the amount of the tap-in fee was at that time, and I couldn't.
Was that one address or two on the card?
Well, that's the challenge. I found the one for the one address, which is the Blush Salon
43, right?
43, I think, or I found one, but I didn't find both. So
Gotcha.
anyway, so it's hard to tell what actually happened. The question that the owner of the Blush Salons piece is asking was, at one time, was the building one? And I don't have any records of that at this point. Was there a 41 that was bigger than what it is today, and that, so therefore, that wasn't addressed at the time of the sale of the property. That may be the case, but I think that, going back to Dave's point, we have a requirement that each individual address have its own connection. And I think we would just want to enforce that, even if that's the case. But I haven't found anything that authorized the two connections together. But mind you, like I said, I found the cards, but I didn't find anything beyond those cards. And so there's nothing that speaks to the detail of how they connected, just that they were authorized to connect.
Right, and just to add to that, going back and looking at the sanitary sewer as-built from that point in time, although the as-bills aren't of the greatest quality, it's still clear on the as-built plans that shows lateral stubs for each one of those addresses. And it specifically says 3543 and 3541. So there are separate connection points for each one of those addresses on that as-built plan. And one would think if the units were combined at one point, then they would be connected interior to the building,
Not exterior.
not exterior
Yep.
to the building in the lateral.
Well, I mean, where are we, what's next steps on that one? I mean, it seems to me that we need to issue some type of a notice to both.
The NOV, the notice of violation, has been issued to
Okay.
3543,
Okay,
requiring them to submit an application to disconnect the lateral. So I'm gonna reach out to the other contractor to see if I can get, if they have a record of the video that shows the fats, oils, and grease buildup in that lateral. If we have a record of that, then we'll issue the notice of violation as well to 3541, so that they're aware that they have a maintenance issue, and in connection with that, we'll set forth the same parameters that we are holding LNG to in this particular case as well, to make sure that we're treating everybody equally across the board.
what's the estimated cost to separate those laterals?
Well, it could get quite expensive, especially if, they're looking at disconnecting a portion and going to the sanitary sewer main. If they find that the lateral's in poor condition and they want to replace the entire thing, obviously that's going to increase the scope of their project and increase the cost. But because they have to basically find the lateral stub that was installed to accommodate that property, if they can't find it, then they're going to have to put some kind of saddle tap on the main and put a new connection to the main that way. Which is not going to be a cheap or easy fix.
All right. Thank you for all of that background on that. Anything else, Dave?
That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Dave on his report? Okay. Moving on to operation manager's report, Steve
Yes, in
Needs.
your packet, you should have the KBX report. I would make note that Dave has informed us that the dioxide stuff will go online in the beginning of the next year, so we'll get that off. We still have a couple of electrical issues and fans not working, so we have to keep working through that. And we just mentioned the crane. I've been talking, the broken fence, I've actually been talking to Equus about. I want to believe that the fence probably got broken during their construction, and so I'm requesting they're fixing that. I actually stopped by the site one day last week and saw where how the fence was broken, and two of the support posts are broken. They're aluminum. They just bent, and I think if you could replace those two pieces, you could fill in and it would be pretty easy. I don't think it's a major deal. So we'll look at getting those taken care of, at least working on it, trying to at least. On that, you see the expenses of their operations and maintenance there. The other thing that I would mention to you from an operations standpoint that I have shared with some of you earlier, that our new person should be starting on January 2nd. And we'll get her up to speed on as much of this as possible, as quickly as possible, to kind of start working on some of these things on a monthly basis for you. And potentially having a little different kind of report going forward. But KBX is working on that, and we are also trying to get a schedule from KBX to do line evaluation so that you can see the schedule for next year of what their intention is.
Great.
And I have nothing else to report.
All right, moving on then. Um. I consider approving the bills on check register A dated December 16, 2024, totaling $49,034.47. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, consider approving a payment totaling $3,577.50 to Herbert MacCombie Jr. Engineers for 2 projects associated with the 537 public sewer project build out. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, consider approving the escrow release payment to Danielle Diegnan at 347 Echo Valley Lane for a completed grading project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Second from Tim? Okay. Well, how much was that? That's my question. Was that in our packet? I apologize if I missed it.
I think it was in the, at least I thought it was in your packet and I'm looking for it right now. I want to say it was. Is that the one that was 12,000?
I guess I'm wondering what the grading project was, and
I think it was related to the grading for their sewer.
okay. And okay. All right, but this is an individual homeowner, am I right?
Yes, I think it's a deal where they had to do an escrow because they moved. And so the new owner actually, I think, is the one getting the escrow back, if I recall, if this is the exact one. It was an estate sale, that's what it was. And they had to fix that, and so we made them put up an escrow related to that, and now they're asking for a release of the escrow.
Gotcha. And everything's done? And
Yeah, everything's done. I'm pretty sure it was in the check run.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think it's in the check run. I think it was under the escrow section, so it was a kind of like a brown colored check, and I'm pretty sure it was $12,000. I remember signing off on it over the weekend.
Gotcha. Okay, well, it'd be nice to know how much, but all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next time. Consider approving release request number 4 totaling $7,200 from Pohlig Builders associated with the Stoney Knoll sanitary sewer project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next, consider approving a refund of overpayment of $238.90 for 3305 Hilltop Road. There was some, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, consider approving a request for 1/4 penalty forgiveness in the amount of $1,746.37 for 3749 Bridal Walk. Apparently this homeowner is paying installments at this point. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. All right, questions or comments? I think we're all gonna want a little bit of an explanation on this one.
If
Steve.
if I recall, this is actually, this is on Bridal Walk, which is the Ivy Ballroom. They're they've set up a payment plan to get caught up. And they said that part of the challenge was they received the invoice late, if I recall. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. From what I read in the packet here, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're willing to pay it. They're trying to get it paid, get caught up, but they would like to waive the late fee because they didn't get the bill until late.
I'm good with that.
Okay. And you've confirmed that they didn't get the bill until late?
Yes,
And that's quite a hefty penalty amount.
yes. It's because the amount they owed was so large.
Yeah. And that's what they meant by they're making payments already
Yeah.
on the actual bill amount. So would this require then reissuing a bill or just?
No, we would just give credit for the 1746 on their bill.
Okay. All right, and that's only with regard to that one location in that area, right? That
It's just that one, it's that one location, and it's just for that one bill. Going forward, everything should be proper.
okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Steve. Next, consider approving a request for a sewer payment plan for a balance due of $2,813.74 from the owners of 728 Elgin Road. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? Okay. All right, so yes, the only question I have is, Steve, you're all set with this as far as the payment plan?
Tom,
I mean, you don't need input from us as to what exactly
No.
that payment plan is. Okay.
so there was letters in your packet that explained it, because I know Tom.
Was
doesn't
this the
like-
hardship? Was this the hardship case?
This is a hardship issue, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering. This was a payment plan for the balance. I mean, it didn't even, so what about moving forward? Are they able to make their payments moving forward? You know, I'm kind of wondering, given what this family's going through, if, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to just start having them make their payments on time and maybe, you know, add a little bit to every bill moving forward. Might
That's what they're doing. That's
Okay.
exactly what they're doing.
Okay,
We're spreading it out, I think, over 6 payments,
yeah, and not charging them any penalty at this point.
no penalties.
Okay, yeah, this sounded like a pretty significant hardship. And are we wiping out all penalties at this point?
Yes,
If they, you know, if they can
if they
stay,
stay current.
if they stay current, and then let us know if they're not.
Okay.
I mean, the next quarter bill. Okay, all right. Did we vote on that?
No.
Okay, sorry, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next, consider approving a reduction in the current third quarter 2024 sewer bill to 107 Mason's Way. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
That second from Walter?
Yes.
Any questions or comments on this one?
What's the amount on this?
Yeah, there's no amount here. I thought there was an amount in the other agenda, the draft agenda, but I could be wrong. Let me see. 12.4.
They got invoiced 275 gallons of water. because there was a connect, there was no connection and the water was just, it went away for the weekend.
Oh, that one, yes, okay.
And we looked at their highest gallon usage was 12,100. So they got an invoice from Aqua for $2,555.90
What?
for one period. Yes, because of the 275,000 gallons of water just pouring into their flower beds. My proposal to them was the largest usage they had prior to this was 12,100 gallons over the past 2 years. That's under $150. That just gives you the difference of what they were charged. It didn't go through the sewer system. So I guess my question would be, they're looking to us to say what it would be. And I mean, it's that the largest bill they paid was $146 a quarter.
And we're talking about charging them that amount instead.
Yeah, I was going to just agree with a flat $200 just to make it,
Yeah.
was the effort we went through here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm, so why don't I just restate this?
Quick
Mike, are
comment.
you okay with that? Should I restate it to read $200?
Just 1 second before you do, Marie,
Yes.
please.
Okay.
Does that include the debt service
Yes,
fee and the?
everything.
It includes everything.
Yeah,
Okay,
everything.
that's fine.
Yeah, I have their bills here. Yep, exactly.
Meaning the 200 would include both the debt service fee and the infrastructure fee?
Infrastructure and the debt service, yes.
Okay. Okay, and that would be their highest quarter. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to reword, I'm going to amend the motion to include the amount reduction in the current third quarter 2024 sewer bill for 107 Masons Way to $200. And I think we have do we need to vote on that again, Mike? Since I've revised it?
Called the vote. I think you got motion second, called for questions, and
Yeah.
we have this discussion. So I think you need a vote.
I think
Just a vote.
both your motion maker and your second should agree to the addendum.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Motion maker and second, do you agree?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on. Consider writing off the original Rockwell LLC receivable of $191,266.33 related to the water usage not processed through the municipal authority sewer system. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. Consider authorizing the operations manager to negotiate and sign a new agreement with the Constellation New Energy for electricity at the municipal authority pumping stations. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
If I could, just for the record, I just wanted everybody to make sure everybody's on the same page. And if anybody's watching at home, what we're going to do. So we've worked in the past. We've done 5-year agreements with Constellation, and we've done it as a joint between the township and the authority with Constellation to provide our electric. As I've shared with some of you, currently we are paying about 5.1 cents per kilowatt hour. Pico is currently billing 9.1 cents per kilowatt hour. Constellation has given us, if we were able to sign today, if it had been able to sign today for a 1-year agreement, they would do 8 cents. For a 4-year agreement, they would do 9 cents. So just to give you an idea of kind of where it is, they're not far off of what Pico's number is. But if you've been reading in the news and paying attention, Pico just was before the PUC recently, And they have two very significant increases in both gas and electric coming. And so I suspect that 9.1 cents is going to go up again. And so what we would like to do is we're going to get a bid in probably for January 6th, the day of January 6th. We'll get an agreement with the Board of Supervisors, hopefully at that time. And then I'll sign on your behalf and then as well as on the township's behalf, that agreement and get it locked in, whatever it is at that moment in time. And we'll make an agreement. We'll make a decision whether we do 1 or 4 years, kind of based on where things are at that moment in time, if that's acceptable to the board.
Yeah, just keep us posted as to
Yep,
Sounds good.
how
We
it
will.
proceeds. Yeah.
we'll put it back on your agenda in January for you to ratify the specific dollar amount, what it comes back to.
That sounds like a good plan. Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, consider approving a reduction in the amount of $163 for sewer bill for 304 Arthur Court. Request was initially approved at the August 19, 2024 meeting, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so what the deal was when you originally did this request, you actually gave them full relief from their bill. And we went back and looked at it, we didn't think that was your intention. Your intention was this was another situation where there was a leak. Hose was cut by the contractor, if you remember.
Yes,
And so your intention, as I understood it, even though that's not what was actually said on the floor, was that we were going to bill them for the highest amount, which was 11,200 gallons. And then we were going to give them relief for the difference. That difference is 163. And so that's what we're asking you to vote on tonight. And then we'll give them that release.
I agree.
okay,
So I think we still need a motion and a second. So
yeah.
Well, I second.
I'm just looking at the old, okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
Tom second.
Thank you. All right, so just going back, looking at the agenda from the minutes from that meeting, it would say request for a relief from charges related to a sewer bill totaling $327.83.
Yeah.
From non-use for service. Okay.
yeah,
And that,
we released the whole amount. I don't think that was your intention. I think
No.
your intention was to give them a break, but not give them free
Yeah.
sewer for the quarter.
Yeah.
I think they just, the way it was worded was not proper.
Yep, that is exactly right. We worded it improperly. We
The
wanted
bill totaled that amount, but not the relief amount. Okay.
correct.
All right. So is it, I mean, Mike, do you think we need to reword this to refer back? Well, I guess it does refer back to that, but
I think
I
I
mean-
make a motion to rescind the action on August 19th and provide a credit in the amount of 160.
I like that. Okay. So I'll go ahead and revise the motion to rescind the action on August 19, 2024, approved by this board, where we provided relief totaling $327.63 and instead offer a reduction, or there's a motion for a reduction in the amount of 163 for the sewer bill for 304 Arthur Court. I think we need a new motion.
The reduction is 163 is what we're taking off.
Yes, reducing the bill by 163.
Both motion maker and second agree.
I agree. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, no additional public comment at this time? In which case, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you. And thank you for letting me attend via Zoom since I was coughing.
Thank you for attending.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Okay, bye.